Hey folks, Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, AncestryLands.com. You know what it is. Where am I? Um, I'm this part of my journey right now. How far land ownership has taken me, and I'm right now at the RVN television studio network, where you see back behind me all these different shows streaming on Hulu and Roku. Who'd ever knew a small guy from Willingboro, New Jersey would have gotten this far? And I've traveled so far from the West Coast, seen the Pacific all the way back now to Jersey, Mount Laurel area, where the journey's taken me this far. People oftentimes ask about what's the benefit of owning dirt. Land has always had a journey, history attached to it, and now you're witnessing mine. Stay tuned, folks. Bill Davis checking in. Okay, folks, behind the scenes looks. Here we are. This is where I'll be sitting at with Dr. G. Arena. Here we are. I interviewed him, which is crazy. I'm actually in the studio. You can see a lot of my posting manager, Eric Valdez. He's been talking about getting us into one of these areas, and here I am right now. This is what you call manifest destiny. The thing to learn, folks, is that we always look at things in a one-to-one outcome. You know, you buy this, you use it. Yeah, there's a place for that, but land has brought me this far. You know, the TV show and television network that is, I just met the owner of this facility, just being here, sitting down, casually talking right today. And I'm getting word they're doing other things and expanding their own network. And here I am right at the cusp of that. Land is, like I said, there's a history that's attached to land. There's a journey that every piece of dirt, every little speck of dirt has been a part of. And through owning land, I've now taken a journey from a guy out in California working as a nurse to now building a business, building notoriety, becoming an author. The journey just keeps on building, let alone we haven't even factored in the legacy I leave behind that my children are going to be a part of. That without that legacy, who knows where their journey would be. The thing that I offer within my business structure within Ancestry Lands is the ability for others to be on the same playing field without so many filters. That barrier to entry is so low. I'm the key master, giving everyone a key to say, join me in my community of people who can create their own legacies, create their own journeys. Many misconceptions with people think that you constantly need, thousands and thousands of dollars. Why isn't the land in my city or state? Once you start actually owning land, once you own a piece of property, as I said before in many other videos, your conversation changes. The things you learn about something that you own, no more than if you own an exotic car. When you own an exotic car, you learn things about the car. You learn how the brakes work, how the odometer works, how computer system works. Just from the process of ownership, understanding and knowledge can be obtained. Well, the same thing with land applies. When you own land, your conversation about taxes, property taxes, what you can and can't write off, how to write off appreciating debt, how to really understand of it as an investment, leveraging it to purchase other things, leasing the land, doing what many of these so-called gurus talk about. You're doing it from an ownership perspective. You have control. You're the one in the driver's seat. And again, your peers, family, and your own community can learn from you in your ownership journey. Now imagine if everyone was in the same place, on the same path, maybe not doing the same thing, but you were talking in a group of many people who own different properties. Now you're talking about movements being created. So it goes from community or the individual first, the community, onto the greater of a movement. So after community comes movements. This is where political power is gained. Because what you have is a community of landowners, people who have real estate holdings, people who have power through ownership. That's what they're attempting to try to take away. That's why they say you'll own nothing. The goal is not to control, it's to take away ownership first. Can't control the people own things, right? Because again, once you own it all, you can take the control away. Everyone thinks the control is being taken away first. No, your ownership is, which is why we always talk from an ownership position. Ancestry Lands has never been a borrowing ideology. It's been an ownership ideology. And what I'm always trying to tell people is that the opportunity to own is here. The time is now. The only thing that's waiting is you. Some will, some won't, some wait. So what? On to the next one. We need to build a community of owners that can start a movement to regain back control for future generations, folks. And I need your help to do it. Go to ancestrylands.com, get some property, go online to Amazon, buy my book, Getting Dollars from Dirt, a beginner's guide to vacant land investing, and start your journey, just like I've started mine, into ownership and beyond. Phil Davis signing out.
Everybody, I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina, and this is Unwinding Stress, and today we're talking about land. And I'm referring to that in a couple different levels. Your physical body, but yes, where you have your house, where you have your home, where food comes from, land. And I have a special guest today, a new friend of mine, Philip Davis. Philip, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I always like to introduce how I met my guest, and we have a mutual friend from the high school and youth days. Yes. And happenstance, I was talking with this man over the last couple of months, and he's like, "You have to meet my friend Phillip." And so I took my time. I promise. And well, I'm pleased to have him here today. That's how impressed I am, how critical I believe the conversation he's sharing with everyone out there is for us to have a greater grasp on. So Philip, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and if you could share a little bit about what inspired you to connect with me from our mutual relationship.
Absolutely. So I always seem to be someone else's best kept secret. And our mutual friend, Justin, I'll just say his name, we went to high school together. He's been following me through my journey. And one thing he always knew, my mom always treated him like she was his second, or actually third son, because she already has two sons. And it didn't matter, he was towering over her. And this, little old lady, I like to say my mom's the black version of an Italian mom, if you will.
Gotcha.
And it was, come on in, baby, come get something to eat and everything else like that. So she always looked out for him, and that turned into a long-lasting friendship that still serves to this day.
Well, so it is about relationships. It's interesting how we were talking about it before the show. Well, I'm going to ask the guys in the back to roll a little bit about Phillip here and his business and his endeavors, one of the things that he's interested in. So please, if you could, roll that for us. Thank you for taking a minute and a moment just to watch that. If you could, Philip, give us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, my company and business is Ancestry Lands, LLC. We're ancestrylands.com. You can find us everywhere. Where aren't we, is what I always say. And my idea of Ancestry Lands is one generation to the next. Since the dawn of time, land has always been a position of power to hold. Unfortunately, as we've evolved into more of a modern technology, what we get sold is mortgages, debts. And people have lost the power and the ability to own land and what it brings forth, how it builds communities. Generally what you do is you let someone else build it, and people lose sight of just so many things you can do on land. And a lot of people think it's millions or thousands of dollars to get in an entry. And my company's set up to provide people with the accessibility to own real estate without the needs for banks, without needing credit, without needing large down payments. It's simply, our monthly payments are less than a car payment. $1,000, $250 a month at most. And you can own a couple of acres of land to build your own legacy, to farm and grow your own food.
Now, I'm hoping many people in the audience are a bit taken back by what you just said.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's probably a common response when you share some of this, because I know I was taught, or my experience witnessing others was it involved the bank, it involved other people that were giving you permission to do things.
Right.
And ultimately, it put down a 30-year promise, and that seemed like a lot to me.
Right.
And in my own endeavors early on to look at properties and look at things, it seemed very cumbersome and confusing, and a lot going on. And this didn't necessarily click for me.
Right.
Yet I see, of course, many people getting houses and whatnot. There's a whole generation, I think, are questioning the value of it.
Right.
And but you're helping people see another way.
Right.
So, go ahead.
So the thing about it, I don't want people to think that buying a home is wrong or I'm against that, but we look back in history that regular people owned land, you know, from whether you were cotton farmers or farmland, but we call it the land of the free. Everything starts with land. Land ownership or real estate ownership, it seems to always be in pockets of people who have and provide, and then people who buy to eventually own. In some cases, they don't end up owning anything. They just, again, mortgage in the Latin term means death grip. So again, the banks are becoming enriched. You're now going to work every day to pay for a mortgage, but you don't really get to enjoy your land. And owning land provides you a way to leverage that land to even buy a home, or to have large land holdings, and just like the wealthy people do. My company, the slogan is one generation to the next. It's the ability to pass down land. You don't need tenants, you don't need termites, you don't even have to put a toilet in, but it's something that you can pass down to your children, that they can say, hey, you know what, I want to sell this land, I need to put a down payment on a home. You don't have to trade your dollars or your hours for dollars, your time for dollars. When you own land, it's simply something that you can take and leverage, and banks accept land because it's still real estate.
That's right.
And it doesn't cost thousands of dollars in 30 years to own. We have people own, and as quickly as they're paying cash, we have them offer, they can go on payments, again, no credit checks, no interest, and they own property. Remember, they said you'll own nothing. And we're bringing back ownership. And that's one of the key factors where we talk about they want to take control, is they can't do that until they take the ownership away. And how you do that is you start taking away the knowledge people have, their ability to own. And that's why most people don't know they can own land.
Okay, you opened up a couple topics for me
Sure.
that I want to take it in little moments, because you gave reference to a very big ideology of a movement that our culture is being driven towards. And what you're also talking at the same time is an avenue of personal responsibility, of personal integrity that provides the ability to live as close to nature. And this is where my audience, I feel, really connects, because food is medicine.
Yes.
I look at now more clearly, food is literal money right now. I can grow a couple things in my land and sell it to the market, or find a great high-end chef who wants because I grow my basil the best, or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Maybe it's cucumbers, maybe it's tomatoes.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's onions or pumpkins, for anybody.
Right.
However, the point is there's so much other things that can be done on land, just besides growing food, but in conjunction with growing food.
Absolutely.
I see an answer for a lot of our problems, from health, from finances, from international trade, into spending money on oil for gasoline, things unnecessarily speaking, and we can enrich the family.
Right.
We're going to jump to this in the second half more deeply, but these are the solutions I think we can do with land. But you have this book, and this I'm going to refer to it right now, but we're going to talk about it in a few moments. About this is where I got lost. Was some of the terminology, the concepts, basically the rules of the game. Is where I want to dive deeper. So I got so excited here because we're talking about three things. And let's go back to the main point, land, and the knowledge of the language of the land in terms of real estate, working with banks, entities, the state, the county, things of this nature. So if you could share a little bit about your book here.
Well, of course, my book is Getting Dollars from Dirt. And people, I want to tell you and your audience that don't come from a real estate background. I've been a registered nurse for 20 years. I've serviced the community. During the recent virus outbreak, I've been serving patients, inflicted throughout all the heavy hitting communities throughout the United States. So I've done pediatrics, worked at Children's Hospital. I'm a person that became an author. I didn't know I was going to become an author, but the knowledge that I've learned through my journey of 5 years of being a landowner with over 100 properties that my wife and I privately own. I didn't have a real estate license. I didn't have a real estate background. This is something that, again, when we speak the language of land ownership, every time you buy a house, you need to have an agent. You need to have a bank. There's so many middlemen in here that literally take fees off of you not having knowledge and understanding of what land is. Because a house still is built with land. It starts with land.
It's foundation.
Right.
Well, there is a powerful statement that knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't believe that's the only way to use that statement. However, it's a very key component to where we're getting stuck in the realm of land and my personal passions with land. And, but the language of how to acquire it, the linguistic gymnastics.
Right.
That is I don't want to call it a shell game, but there's a lot of moving parts that maybe aren't necessary. So if you break down the book a little bit about some of the major topics that you have going on here.
Right. One of the reasons why I wrote the book, and it breaks down many times what people who buy land from me, they want to know. What can you do on the land? What type of property is it? Can I grow animals? Can I have farming? Can I park trucks? Can I? There's not. I always have to do an education first to get a person in order to get a person to become an owner. So the knowledge that I've learned over what is a residential property, you would say it's one with a house on it, but what if it has commercial applications, such as you like to be a florist, you like growing flowers and plants, or you like having crops. If you know the zoning rules and how to talk to a county to get the permits, where is that? Who knows where to go? They don't. And I wrote the book if people don't buy from me, okay, great, but I still want to leave you some way of being educated. Even if you have a house, you want to do a pool, you want to have chickens. Again, we've learned in 2020 that, going to the grocery store, there's supplies that can buy out. And again, with owning land, even the things in this book, it gives you at least the working knowledge on how to be able to still be back in control of your life, to provide or give yourself some independence, some ownership, if you will. When tough times come, you're not left out looking for a handout or being at the mercy of other people. You still have that onus in your life. And this book it's only 55 pages, and it's not filled with fluff. It's filled with what you should know, who to call, what county regulations and government entities. When you want to do something, you can call. You can, using this book as a guide, practice the experience. So when you have a contractor coming, you already have some front end information that you know, and now you're having a conversation. You're not be given a quote. See the difference I always say between someone else who has the knowledge telling you what the price is, rather than you negotiating the price, because certain things are not necessary. Because they're going to say, I have to pull the permits. Well, I've already done that. I've already called the county and I know exactly what I need. Now I'm looking for who can do the best price. So there's a value in your dollar now, giving you back ownership and control.
Well, it's such a powerful place to be when you know the rules of the game going in. The experience of being blinded by the lights, so to speak, pulling all these one-liners out. The point is, though, when you're unaware walking into a process, that's when the wolves get you, so to speak. That's when you're taken advantage of. That's when things are padded on that you don't know. Or a buyer unaware, you end up with something you wish you didn't have. And to me, there's a concept as far as freedom and food and farming and healthcare that I've come to subscribe to, and they're all tied together in my opinion. Though now I'm in the place of, wait a minute, I forgot the land. That all is accomplished because of the land. Now, do I have regulation? Do I make the decisions on that land, or do I have to ask somebody else for that permission to grow my oregano, or to have my chickens or the goats or whatever that may be? And to me, there's a more personal, empowering way, and this seems to be a very critical piece of knowledge, what you're helping people get a grasp of.
Right.
So we're going to take a break.
Sure.
We have our second half coming back in a moment, and we're going to talk about things that you're doing with people. What have you heard some of your customers are doing with their land, solutions that you've employed, and how people can take your advice to the next step.
Sure.
Next level. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the other side of the commercial break. I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina. This is Philip Davis. We're on Unwinding Stress.
Have you ever wondered how some people make a fortune by investing in vacant land? Well, look no further. We have the ultimate solution for you. Introducing Getting Dollars from Dirt, a beginner's guide to vacant land investing. This incredible book is your go-to resource if you're looking to make a splash in the real estate market. You'll discover proven strategies and expert tips to help you navigate the world of vacant land investing, even if you're a complete beginner. Say goodbye to confusing jargon and overwhelming information. This book is designed to provide you with practical steps to kickstart your journey towards financial independence. Learn how to identify the most profitable vacant land opportunities and maximize your returns. Getting Dollars from Dirt covers it all. You'll gain the confidence and knowledge you need to make smart investment decisions. Don't miss out on this golden opportunity. Grab your copy of Getting Dollars from Dirt today and start your path to wealth. Click the link in the description below to order your copy now. Remember, investing in vacant land has never been this accessible. Don't wait another second. Start building your fortune today.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Kevin Jarina. We're here with Philip Davis of AncestryLands.com, and we're talking about land ownership, the language of acquiring land, and there's a much more simple way about it that you discovered, you realized, you found the path. Tell us, how did you come about this information?
Well, I have a history of land ownership. My grandfather didn't graduate high school, only had an elementary school education. The house that I was raised in as a child, right near Virginia Beach in Portsmouth, Virginia, he built from the ground up.
Oh, wow.
Back in the 50s. That house still exists today. It's been lost through the family, unfortunately, but I had a story of being raised in a house with aunts and uncles. My parents stayed there. That whole journey was built on ownership, and he did it himself. Where I went into owning land was, I didn't want to take the position which most businesses do, where other people's money. I wanted people to understand that ownership, true ownership, again, where's the skin in the game? You're buying all the properties my wife and I have accumulated through these 5 years and continue to accumulate is through providing the community the service of ownership, which is rarely talked about anymore in this country. Why would I sell you something that I don't have I didn't buy myself? Why would I sell you a book or want you to buy a book that I didn't write myself, that I didn't take time and painstakingly put the effort in, if I didn't buy it, why should you? So, and again, it's more of follow what I do, my path and what I've done from my example, my life experience, rather than someone who's out here just to sell you something. I took the risk first to own it. And people like the idea of many of the 50 people that are now new landowners, they love when they're talking to the actual owner. You're not dealing with a realtor, you're dealing with someone who has these, I'm working out a deal with you on how to purchase this land. You know what a realtor can't do? They can't say, hey, I'm having hard times right now. Can I pay this much a month? Well, guess what I can say? Yeah, a realtor can't do that. It's the set price, buy it as, there's no more. I work with my clients to own land.
So you're a very hands-on process where everything you're helping others do, you've done it before.
Absolutely.
And you're doing it now.
Right.
Well, isn't that, well, in my world, if as a chiropractor, if I'm not getting adjusted, if I'm not eating well, if I don't do my time for breath work or movement, I looked at as being less of living the example. And so, and like everyone, I went up and down on some of those things, but got better and better and better and better, and figured out where those little hiccups were and keep on moving forward. Then a storm would come and then you figure it out again, and you keep on going. And so, I'm translating that story in the essence of you had to learn material, you had to learn to apply it, you had to overcome challenges. Now you got a good rhythm and certain features of it. I'm sure you're going to expand the vision of it in some form and fashion. What are, this is where I'm really interested.
Okay,
what are people using their land, or what have you seen people come up with ideas? Or what is some of the inspiration you've come across?
So, because when I buy land, you never know what you're going to find. As far as, they always say, once upon a time, my people were over 40 acres in the mall. Well, I actually bought my 40 acres.
Okay.
And then I sold it to another person who's making payments, but his sense of pride and ownership, that story, that exchange, talking to the families that are like, we now own property. I've talked to the daughters who are my age, their grandchildren, that awareness that we own, that concept now is there. It's a light that switches on. Many of the people, what they're doing is they're seeing the building going up around them. Now they're saying, well, I can either have more equity now because the land values have gone up. Other commercial or people who are developing, they want now that land to buy. So now they're looking at a profit. I mean, most of the land is in the southern, outside of LA.
Your specific focus at this point?
Well, it's the Southwest generally. We've had properties in Arizona. I buy where there are residents at, but the affordability is there for people. So these are places where you can have home. You can also grow crops. You can also have farming. They do have multi-purposes, which I cover in this book, about dual or multiple use land, which most people don't know, that they don't know that they can actually grow crops on their land. They either think it's a great idea because they saw it somewhere, but they don't know that they have the ability to do it. How about someone who's letting someone else do that and they're leasing out, your backyard's being unused because you're just cutting it every day. Why not let someone grow crops in the back and they're just leasing your land from you? There are properties where you can do this now, generate income and also service the community. How about if you have chickens? I have, I don't want to say, but I'm doing vegetables. Another person's growing fruit.
Those examples you're talking about.
Right.
Yes.
And other people are looking at setting up communities that way where they now exchange for your lettuces for how many of my eggs, or chicken if you have to, call the chicken. But now you're able to build communities and exchange things on a value for value rather than inflated price, goods or services, or we're all living our lives based upon whoever decides something in Washington.
Indeed, indeed. Now, you're starting to talk about topics a few of my other guests have been very passionate about, the food forest abundance community. And there's other pockets, other communities I haven't had the privilege to interview yet that have inspired me for what to do with my land, and the benefits of having that. Yet, there was this, for whatever the reason, I had this missing block of the language of how to acquire land, thinking it was only through these major institutions that seemed to be, in some ways, beneficial for us, but in some ways detrimental to us. And this seems to be kind of like a lot of the conversation with a lot of our bigger institutions that are outside the local community kind of regulation, akin to, say, 150 years ago, 200 years ago. Communities self-regulated, they fed each other, they nurtured each other. This is a bigger extension of the family unit almost, in many ways. I can imagine the early settlers, so to speak, shifting to a different land and supporting each other. But in the Ancestry Lands, this is one of the other iterations of what I thought your business was, is we have a native, we all come from the land. There's all this history and lore around Socrates and the ancient healers that we are of the earth. All the elements we find, all the elements we find in the human body are found in the earth and in the vegetables and all the nature around us. This is where I feel our journeys crisscross very intimately.
Absolutely. Well, again, I will say that the story of owning land has led me right here in front of all of you all.
That's true.
Land has, every piece of dirt has had a journey of history attached to it, whether it's ancient Roman times, dinosaurs, or Native Americans, down to people going out to the frontier, to where we are common day. How many times have you seen your neighborhood or area and I come back around here and things have changed? That all starts with land. And land opens a conversation when you are a landowner. You now start to have different aspects through the education and learning or experience of owning land that takes you further. Sometimes it's not just I have a conversation about someone's interested in my particular property, but they're interested in understanding how to get a greater piece of property or a greater piece of land or acquire something different. And they come to ask me about those things, which is why I wrote this book. But also, again, if you and I are both landowners, we're going to have a different conversation over dinner than if We vote for people who own homes. Or I'm sorry, have mortgages on homes. And one of the differences is that, when I talk about banks we saw have limits on how much you can take out each day. They have limits on how much I can send you. Again, who's the owner of the bank? How do they service the community? Where are they in the community? How can they be seen? And at Ancestry Lands, I always tell people it's like Papa John's delivering you the pizza himself. You get to call and talk to me. You're not going to talk to 4 different people. There's no automated people, no automated answer service. You're talking to me every day. I know every one of my clients and their stories.
So yes, your process. I saw some photos. Now you're here in studio in New Jersey, and you live somewhere. You live in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, yep.
And though much of your business and work in this part of your world is in the West Southwest,
yep.
And so that itself is intriguing. So this could be done everywhere.
Yes. Well, if you look at most, wealthy people, they have homes, multiple homes in different places throughout the United States. They have property that they own that they don't even do anything on. They have real estate holdings. I mean, Dave Ramsey's multiple real estate holdings. What people don't understand is that the value in the land itself is, first of all, it's a low cost to entry, low barrier to entry, low maintenance. You don't have to fix any repairs. A lot of times, eventually, we're going to spread out as human beings all over every facet of the earth. So again, it's who's buying it up and then selling it. And again, some people are doing cattle raising on land. I had one guy, he was from Iran. He was here now, and he wanted to raise camels because he found out that camel's milk for a gallon sells for like $30 a gallon. I mean, I don't know what the quoting is now, but just having that conversation with him, I'm like, we're going to sell here's a new idea. Raise camels on land. California City's out in the desert. Go ahead and go raise camels on land. There's so many things agriculturally that you can do, but I find out and get educated from my clients because they have ideas of what they want to do with the land themselves.
So people are resourcing you because you have a level of expertise of how to acquire outside the existing systems, and then you also have either you're turning them on to something they have to take care of themselves, or you have a library of properties out in that area of the world where you help people accomplish this mission.
I always say is that you want to be in a path of where demand is. So there's 2 facets of this why I chose that area as opposed to, let's say a Jersey or the Northeast or Southwest. There's a large migration coming up from the South of the United States. The people there, they want access to land. They may not have credit. They may not have an affordability. There's affordability issue with going to a bank and getting a large loan. The people on the East Coast, the position is you're buying land over there to own, to be in the path where people are growing, where the demand is. So if you're buying from me today, any one of those properties, I'm still selling years later, working for your land values to increase. And also on top of that, you're eventually going to be approached by someone else who wants to buy that land from you to build retirement, or they want to build a home. You can do a manufactured home. So you still, the demand is there. And you're right in the pathway. Like I always say, the Nile River or anywhere you see those great migrations, where do the crocodiles position themselves? Animals do this in nature.
Sure.
They put themselves right where the masses are coming through, not up the river, not down the river. Even in ancient Egypt, they farmed where the river was, the River Nile was. They didn't farm on some other rivers. They farmed, or mountains. They farmed right where the river was to give them the plentiful resources. Well, you're right in the path of growth here. For the people there, I'm right in the path of demand. They're not people coming from down north. You have most of your wealthy people buying in the middle of the country, but for people who are looking to, how else are you going to get $10,000 extra without working day and night, missing out on your children's lives or your own lives? You have to trade your hours for dollars. Here you don't do that. You have someone working on your behalf for the equity increase.
Well, this is something that's super intriguing. I know off camera we had a lot of other connecting conversations that bring the value of land ownership to a much higher value.
Right.
And what is super intriguing for me was the simplicity of learning the language, learning some of the nuances, and of course, when there's an expert involved, someone who's got the hands-on, it makes a difference in helping you get what you need to get to without getting I want to be mindful with the words I use, but the big corporate entities,
Right.
and the machine process that they have. So I want to empower the individual. I want to empower the family. I want to empower the local community, because that's where I believe a lot of the answers are for our problems in today's world are. Phil, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Everybody, please check out ancestrylands.com and check out the channel. Check out the book just released
On Amazon.
On Amazon now.
Yep.
Blessings and regards to you, everybody. I'm Dr. Kevin Jarena. This has been Philip Davis, and we're on Unwinding Stress, Sunday and Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Blessings and best regards to you.